You finally hit your goal weight, you're done with the deficit, and you're ready to eat normal again. But within 2 weeks, the scale is up like 5 pounds. And your hunger is higher than when you were actually dieting. So why is your body betraying you? Listen, most people actually think that your healthy eating is going to finish as soon as you reach your goal weight. But biologically, that's where the real danger actually begins. In the metabolic adaptation, slowing your burn, and fat cell hyperplasia literally begging to be refilled. If you don't have the proper plan in place, your body is rigged to rebound and regain that weight. So today, we're going well beyond the calories in versus calories out of what happens when you actually end your diet. We're looking at the neurological effects, why your NEAT or your non-exercise activity thermogenesis levels are crashing out without you even knowing it, physiological reasons of why you should be super cautious of just abruptly stopping a diet without having a strategic plan in place. But before we go ahead and get into this video, go ahead and like the video so it gets pushed out to more women, subscribe to the channel so you never miss strategies that help move the needle more, and drop a quick comment with one of the biggest insights you've taken away from this video. So let's get into the video. Alright, so when you end a long calorie deficit, especially a structured one, tracking with discipline and of course consistency, your body doesn't necessarily celebrate with you. It actually does the opposite. Your body has just spent several weeks or months learning that food is limited, and your body might not necessarily understand that your dieting was intentional, especially to reach your weight loss goals. To your primitive physiology, you're simply just surviving a famine. This means the moment that you actually up your calories, your metabolism might still be suppressed, your hunger hormones are still possibly elevated, and your energy expenditure might be at an all-time low. And this creates a perfect storm for rapid regain if you don't have the right strategy, because your body is simply trying to stock up for the next possible famine that you might get into. So some of the short-term post-diet effects, especially in the few weeks following the deficit that you just ended, or specific things might actually happen, regardless of how perfect you dieted. First, your glycogen stores almost refill instantly. Glycogen is the stored form of carbohydrates kept in your muscles and your liver. And during the deficit, these stores are chronically low. So the moment you start eating more, your muscles soak up that glucose like a sponge. The catch is that every single gram of glycogen holds 3 to 4 grams of water along with it. And when the scale jumps 5 pounds in 3 days, please realize this isn't fat gain overnight. It's literally just hydration and energy stored in your muscle tissue. Second, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis might drop without you even noticing it. And this can be the silent killer of progress. You might keep pushing through the fatigue that you don't even realize that your brain is subconsciously making you move less to save more energy. So when you increase your calories, your hunger hormone ghrelin often rises before your fullness hormones leptin even has a chance to catch up. This creates a physiological lag where you actually feel hungrier while eating more calories than in your deficit. It's a temporary hormonal balance that might make your stomach feel like an endless pit. Fourth, your fat cells essentially wake up. And this of course depends on how much weight you've lost. So if you lost a small amount of weight, your fat cells just shrank. However, if you lost a significant amount of weight, your body might have undergone fat cell hyperplasia. And these cells are highly insulin sensitive and are effectively begging to be filled. If you shock the system by eating a massive surplus of calories, especially after your deficit, these cells expand rapidly and store that energy. Now we're gonna get into the long-term post-diet effects. Now the long-term effects on your body depend heavily on how much weight you've lost. If you lost a smaller amount, like 5 to 10 pounds, your body is going to become slightly more resilient, meaning your metabolism adapts back to baseline relatively quickly. Your hunger hormones can stabilize within like a month, and your subconscious movement or your NEAT tends to rebound naturally. Now your risk of regain is lower as long as you don't completely abandon your healthy habits, of course. However, if you lost a significant amount of weight, your body might stay in a guarded state for a longer time. Your leptin levels might stay suppressed for longer, meaning you still might not be satisfied after meals for quite some time. Your thyroid output which governs your metabolic speed, might remain downregulated, and your body is much more prone to breaking down muscle protein, especially if you abandon your training. So for women in this category, the transition period isn't just a few weeks. It's almost a multi-month biological recalibration. Okay, now we need to talk about the mental game, because for a lot of people, this is where the struggle actually comes in. You spent months mastering the training structure and following macros. Then suddenly you hit your goal and there's no rules. This triggers a massive identity loss. You go in from having a clear daily mission to feeling now just like you're winging it. And then this creates this psychological spiral. And you start obsessively checking in on the scale and wondering if every bit of water retention is actually fat. And this might lead to a restriction cycle. Your brain is reward deprived after months of dieting, making food taste so much better and cravings feel so much more intense than possibly before. So the truth is, your ability to maintain your results is truly dependent on how intelligently you are able to transition out of this diet phase. And you need a structured exit strategy to essentially guide your body back to a healthy baseline. So one, we start with the reverse diet. Think of your metabolism as being like half asleep. If you dumped 1,000 extra calories right on top of it, especially overnight, may store it as fat. So instead, we should gradually add calories back to your maintenance calories levels. You need to hold at that level for at least 7 days while watching your biofeedback. So ask yourself, are you sleeping better? Is your energy higher? And if your weight stays relatively stable, you can go ahead and increase that calorie amount. Step 2 is prioritizing your protein. Many women stop focusing on their protein intake, especially after their diet ends, which is a massive mistake. Protein is so essential, especially for controlling that post-diet hunger spike, because it's the most satiating macronutrient. It also helps stabilize your blood sugar levels, and most importantly, protects the muscle that you've worked so hard to actually gain. So go ahead and aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of your goal body weight. A common trap is actually reaching your goal weight and then suddenly taking a break on the intensity of your training, when in reality, this is so important for your maintenance phase. And of course, now that you increase your calories and you have more fuel, your body is in a better position to build that muscle and tighten up. So remember, you don't necessarily have to add more hours in the gym, but you still need to keep the same level of intensity when you're training in the gym. Step 4, we need to maintain the level of cardio and tracking our steps that we did when we were actually dieting. Since your need is the first thing to crash, you need an external way to ensure that you're not going to be a couch potato after you diet. So keep a baseline of at least 8,000 to 10,000 steps per day. And this is going to keep your energy expenditure higher without spiking your hunger levels. Step 5 is managing your emotional patterns. Now, you can expect some emotional turbulence, especially after you've dieted for such a long time. You might feel a little bit guilty for eating more. You might feel a temporary loss of control. So if you've been hyper fixated on tracking every single calorie, you need to slowly taper yourself off from that. So go from tracking everything to tracking how much protein you are eating over the course of the day. And this allows your brain to transition from diet mode to life mode without the panic of actually losing structure. Listen, I went through this entire cycle myself. I tracked everything, I hit my numbers, and did everything supposedly right. And every time I finished a diet, I would freak out the second that scale went up at least 2 pounds. I thought that it was failing or my body was broken, but nothing was actually wrong. I just simply didn't understand how to transition after I finished that diet. So you didn't necessarily fail after you regained some of the weight after your last diet. You were simply never taught the post-diet phase, which is actually so much more important than the actual diet phase, because this is what's going to help you maintain the results that you're actually looking for. So if you actually want to maintain your results for years instead of weeks, you need to support your hormones, your metabolism, and your mindset long after the calorie deficit is over. So if this resonated with you, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and take the metabolic pattern quiz linked down in the description. It'll help show you which biological profile you're operating from and why your metabolism responds the way that it does. And I'll see you in the next video.